What's going on, everyone? Welcome to your Monday night news show live from Manchester. We've had a lot of stuff coming out today, as always, after such a controversial win over Coventry in the FA Cup. We have just dropped the pros and cons, by the way, just a quick plug before we start. If you want to go check that out after this show, please do. But stick with us for the moment, because like I said, we've got so much things to get into. Jose Mourinho's done an interview with The Telegraph and dropped a couple of gems there. Andy Cole's been inducted into the Premier League Hall of Fame. We've got some big reports on Thomas Tuchel. Jason Wilcox starts work and Ten Hag is under the magnifying glass. Reports of Holand and Bruno falling out as well. So it's all kicking off respectively at the minute. Sam, how are we feeling now the dust has settled on that game?
One normal day at United would be nice, wouldn't it? One normal day,
yeah.
But I'm not going to get that, unfortunately, because journalists need to sell papers and need to generate clicks, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm still angry, to be honest with you. Still angry, still annoyed, still sick of seeing the same shit week in, week out, regardless of the opposition level. Yeah, just like we said yesterday, last night, just want to get to the end of the season. Just fucking done with it. I'm over it.
Well, we have got a final to play, despite what people think. And a man who got to many finals and has won many finals is Jose Mourinho, it's a couple of interesting quotes today. I'm just going to go into, I'm not sure in which order the interview was conducted and which quotes were first or whatever, but I've just basically plucked the most interesting ones, and I want to get your thoughts. And I'd like to get everybody else's thoughts in the chat as well, live or not live. So he said, I won the Europa League final with long balls from Sergio Romero to Marouane Fellaini. Ajax pressing, but pressing oxygen because the ball was not there. Ball to Fellaini's chest, play from there, 2-0, bring the cup home, 3 titles, disaster of a season. Obviously, a slight bit of hint of sarcasm there. Yeah. Wasn't the best football to watch, was it, in that sense? But he got results, and do you feel that's kind of the big difference at the moment when you're watching both managers? With Erik Ten Hag, the football's chaotic, not nice to watch, but he's not really getting results. Whereas at least with Mourinho, in fairness, we did win things, right?
Yeah, without if you're United fan, Erik Ten Hag's Man United is horrific to watch. If you're neutral, I bet it's fucking amazing. It's like United games on, I'm definitely watching this because there's going to be absolute ridiculousness in it. We had a succession of managers. Like David Moyes' football was very crap, if we'll be honest. Louis van Gaal's football was better, but fucking me, it was boring. So boring. Awful, it? Honestly,
positional. No one move out of position. No. Stay right there. Space between the line. Oh, God.
Horrific. Like I think Jay Motti said he sat in his whatever end he sits in. He said he sat there and he didn't see a goal for 6 months at his end, which is just fucking ridiculous.
Can I ask you a question though? Just a thing. Yeah. Would you take that over what you're watching now?
I don't know, because the end results are pretty much the same. Like where did Van Gaal finish?
FA Cup 5th, won it, I think.
Is it much better?
FA Cup 7th at the minute. At least it's entertaining.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it is what it is.
Shit either way.
Jose, you know what you're going to get with Jose. Like, Jose is not the man to build a team and build for long term and set a club forward. He's a guy, you bring him for a few years, you give him every tool that he asks for. Like, all the players, whatever it is, back him to the hill. He will win you stuff. Like, he'll win. Titles, trophies, whatever it is, he will do it. If you don't back him, he'll kick his toys out of the pram, he'll kick off and he'll start chucking people under the bus, and it'll all implode in a bunch of anger. And it's exactly what happened at United. He won titles, he won trophies. He didn't win titles, but he won trophies. And he did it with a squad he probably wasn't 100% happy with, I'd say. I'd say if it was up to him, he'd probably have more players and different levels of players. And he was also had leftover players from Van Gaal that he hated. He had leftover players from Moyes that he didn't like either. Luke Shaw, if we take that guy, for example. So I think he offered a way to win stuff. Was the football modern and exciting? No, he genuinely get 1-0 ahead, 2-0 ahead, and then park the bus and just try and hold it. And he was a master of it. Like, he did it well and did it a lot throughout his career. And that's how he won with Porto in the Champions League. That's how he won with Chelsea with the Is it 15 goals conceded? I believe the entire season.
2005 won it, I think.
That's his game, man. That's what he does,
Crazy.
and he does it extremely well, and it wins stuff. But United in the last part of it just didn't back him. What do we get? Like Lee Grant, Fred, Dallo. Was that his last transfer window?
When City did the Centurions, I think we got 81 points or something. We finished second, which Mourinho still says is one of his greatest successes. And City finished with 100 points. We went and bought Lee Grant, Fred, and Dallo, I think it was.
He didn't even want Fred either. Like Fred wasn't even a signing that he wanted. I think we bought. Didn't City interested in him?
I think there was, but how many times has that happened? Sanchez, Maguire.
Exactly. And then we went for him, and I don't think Mourinho even wanted him, to be honest. So, and you call that backing your manager. Like, and then you can see what happened afterwards. He was going to implode, and he was going to chuck everybody under the bus, which is what he did. And he did the same. And a lot of stuff he said, we were a bit annoyed and thought he was a bit toxic. But to be honest, most of it's come to light, and most of it's pretty much bang on. Like, aside from the Luke Shaw thing, I think everything else is pretty much bang on. Like, I wouldn't disagree with a lot of it.
You can still tell he's kind of a little bit pissed off, because even in there's more quotes coming out from this. He said, in some moments I felt if United trusted me and believed in my experience, things could be different. There are still a couple of players still there I didn't want 5 or 6 years ago. I think they represent a little bit what I consider not the best professional profile to a club of a certain dimension. But I did my job there. Time always tells the truth. I would love Manchester United to succeed. Now, he mentions a couple of players still there. Martial, for sure, is one of them, because we know we want to get rid of him. Marcus Rashford, I think, is the other one as well who was there, because I've heard him criticise him openly before about certain work rate and things which we're seeing this season. I'm trying to think, is there anyone else, do you think? Lindelof was his signing, so I don't think he would have referenced him. He was still at the club.
He didn't. I don't think he wanted Pogba either, did he? He wasn't.
No, but I'm on about players. He says players that are still at the club now, innit? So I'm thinking, who's still at the club when Mourinho...
Shaw, he doesn't like Shaw, does he?
Shaw, maybe, yeah. Shaw, Rashford, Martial.
He said he plays with his body and my brain. So, and he was accused accusations of his weight and not being in shape and stuff like that. So,
but is Mourinho wrong? You know, you look at Rashford now. We call him the kind of purple patch kid. Look at Martial. Luke Shaw's injuries. You know, he's improved as a player since Mourinho, but he's not wrong, is he?
I don't think he was wrong on 99% of the stuff he said. I think the way he goes about it is not great for him personally and his career, because he genuinely explodes or implodes at every club he's been to. Real Madrid, Chelsea, Spurs, United, Inter Milan. Like, he's just falling out with people when he doesn't get his way. And I think that's what happens when you have that sort of manager, like a Jose, like a Pep, a Klopp. If you don't absolutely go and believe in their vision and back them all the way, they genuinely fall out with you and have a problem, and they'll implode and start just chucking stuff out, because that's how they operate. They're non-negotiable. This is how they operate, and that's the way he is. And I think if you're going to bring in like a Jose Mourinho, because at that point he wasn't a joke, he was still a legit top manager at that point. He'd left Chelsea, he'd won things at Madrid. Was it before or after the treble at Inter?
So, 2010 team was the treble with Inter won it, and then I think he went to, was it Chelsea after that?
Back to Chelsea. Back to
Chelsea, and then Madrid was, I can't remember the years, to be honest with you.
But he was still all over the place. A top manager for all intents and purposes. So I think if you bring that sort of guy in, you just have to back him. Like with Pep, if you bring Pep Guardiola in, you know what he wants. You have to give him the money he needs to get the players he wants and give him the time. The same with Jose, and they didn't do that. They didn't back him, like he says in the quote. They didn't back him. They didn't allow him to get rid of players that he wanted to get rid of. Martial, Rashford, possibly among those, and they didn't allow him to bring in players that he wanted. When you give him Dallo, Fred, and Lee Grant, like, how is that backing the manager? So spot on.
Absolutely. I was just looking. So Inter Milan 2008 till 2010. From 2010 to 2013, he was at Real Madrid, and that's why they discussed when Fergie left. That's when he went back to Chelsea, and there was kind of a window there where maybe they could have brought, Mourinho straight back in. So he was at Chelsea from 2013 to 15, at United for a couple of years, then went to Tottenham, then went to Roma, and is now currently looking for a job, as far as I'm aware. he touched on his relationship with Ed Woodward, which I thought was interesting as well. He said it was good in the personal point of view. Even now we send an SMS, but from a professional point of view, it was not the best. I am who I am. I'm a football man. Ed comes from a different background, and what Ten Hag has in his time at United, I didn't have, apparently. I didn't have that level of support. I didn't have that level of trust, so I left sad because I felt it was the beginning of the process. Now, I'm not sure if I've already asked you this question, and again, this is a question for the chat. Do you think he would succeed under a model like Ineos at United? If he had it in place, I mean, at the time. Not now, because he's a different manager in that sense, but at the time.
I don't know, because I think these modern models, I think a lot of control gets taken away from the manager. I think these models want a manager who's all about coaching, tactics, and you handle all that shit, selection, blah blah blah, and then you come to us and be like, I want to play this style, and these are the types of players I need, and then they go out and find it. Like whereas Jose are probably used to dictating, I like this player, I want this player, this player, this player, this player. And he did that throughout his career. He took players from Porto to Chelsea, and he took players from Chelsea to Man United, and like he relies on certain players, and he likes working with certain players. I don't think he'd have that control under Ineos. I think they want a tracksuit manager, a manager who's on the training ground, getting tactics, implementing style of play, utilising youth talent and bring them up, which Jose was never good at either. Like he wasn't a big user of like sort of young talent and stuff. So I think probably not, but he does have his good sides and his successes. So it's just like it's depending on the type of manager you want. Under Ineos, I think they want somebody who's just purely focused on the on the pitch stuff and nothing.
Do you think it'd clash?
Yeah, he'd kick off when you can see arguments between him and Dan Ashworth or Jason Wilcox going, look, we're not paying this amount of money for this player that you want. And he's like, well, I need him for this. And it's like, well, we've identified these other players who will fit into that. He's like, no, I want this guy. And you can see it. You can see it.
I think it's going to be interesting to see where he moves to next. I can't wait. I hope he comes back to the Premier League. It's not going to be United, but I hope he does in whatever capacity he is, whatever team he goes for. Because he's box office, I like him as a manager.
Seems to have an affection for United as well, which he doesn't seem to have for a lot of other teams.
Yeah.
Like he seems to like us and appreciate us so much more than a lot of his other teams. Like I know he has that affiliation with Chelsea, but the way he speaks about United, he seems to speak about it with fondness, especially the fans and like managing at Old Trafford and stuff. Like I'm sure he mentioned his favourite ground to manage in is Old Trafford. Like he loves it. And then there's that picture. Didn't he pick up the anti-glazer scarf at one point?
Yeah, I think so. I think I remember that. I remember Beckham doing it. I'm pretty sure Mourinho did it as well. Ten Hag did it, did he? Remember the first season? Yeah, so for me, I think it's probably unfinished business that he's looking at. He's like, the potential, I could have stayed at that club and I could have won things. I think he definitely, if he was allowed to do certain things. But
Van Gaal probably feels the same way.
Yeah, exactly. Ten Hag probably feels the same way now if he can get given a bit of time and get over the line. But yeah, well, I suppose we'll never know. It's Sam's in the chat saying, just seen the Holand Bruno saga on Twitter now. Just one normal day is all I ask for. We are going to get into that, Sam. Mate. Do not worry about it.
Never.
Brian saying, evening lads. I never look forward to a Monday more than I did today. Just wanted Sunday to end. Yeah. I'm with you there, Brian. Nardi Sola says he recently took his word back against Luke Shaw. I doubt he's talking about him. He was just a player we mentioned because it's one of them, and we're trying to think of who was there whilst Mourinho was there, and not many now, I don't think, who start in the starting 11, and both Dalot and Lindelof were both his signings. So, KD says, would be such a silly knee-jerk reaction to fire Ten Hag. I don't want my club to become Chelsea. He needs at least one season with proper structure and support before being judged. Did you comment that, Sam? Sounds like you comment that.
No, but I mean, I'm with you, KD. I'm with you.
Yeah. It's a fair point. It's a very good point. Camario Fork says, ready for the season to end. I do want to keep Eric Ten Hag, but if they decide to do our squad, it needs to be cleared. Love Shaw, but he needs to be a backup. Issues availability. We need two new centre-backs, a defensive midfielder, and a left-back. On one hand, he would succeed with the proper people. Oh, yeah, there's plenty more on top of that. On one hand, he would succeed with the proper people and structure above him, but on the other hand, look at the players he'd have to manage. Yeah, if he came back, he'd probably kill Rashford and Martial, wouldn't he?
Imagine him and Anthony. Like, he'd fucking...
Oh, no.
Not a chance.
fiery characters. And Dino Lewis says we're going to beat City in the final. I see a bad moon rising. Steady on.
Dino, whatever you're drinking, send me some, please. I would like that positivity.
From legendary managers to legendary players, Sam, our very own Andy Cole has been inducted into the Hall of Fame. 5 Premier League titles, 187 goals, 414 games, 73 assists. Didn't take many pens, which doesn't get spoken about enough. 34 goals in a single season. Yeah, I think he had 1. Yeah. About time, right? He got inducted.
Like, he's criminally overlooked, isn't he? So criminally overlooked. I know he's a little bit before your era, like just a little bit, but he was like, I think he was in his pomp when I was like 11. So he's like right when I was just getting fully into football. So yeah, that guy deserves so much more flowers than he gets. Like, it's ridiculous. And I'm glad he's finally speaking up about it. Like, I'm glad he's actually talking about like how good he was, because for a long time he let that shit slide and let people talk about him and like say he was average and blah blah blah. That goal scoring record Shearer has, Cole equaled it, and he did it without any penalties. So like I don't know why he's not talked about in the same way that Alan Shearer is. Like, he's a phenomenal striker, and he's won trophies that some players who've scored goals have only dreamed to have won, and he won a treble. Like, this guy is ridiculous. He's so fucking good, and if you haven't watched it, if you're younger, like if you're in your teenagers years or early 20s, go back and watch like that season, the treble winning season. Like, he's phenomenally good, so fucking good. And I think I congratulated him on our Instagram and he liked it. So
he did, didn't he? Yeah,
he knows about us. He knows about us.
He does. He knows the real authentic stuff. Dino says I'm 38 and Andy Cole was an awesome striker. Yeah, it's hard for me to kind of have a perspective on it. Like I always say with a lot of things, you can always look back at it, but it's never, you don't get the true sense of it and what it's like in the moment and what it meant. So obviously Andy Cole for United, phenomenal. Scoring that amount of goals in the Premier League tells you everything you need to know, with the assist as well, with the record in a single season. So yeah, I'm sure somewhere Jay Motti has a tear in his eye, looking out a rainy window.
Go watch Jay Motti and Adam McCall on Paddock did an interview with him. Was it last year? I think.
Yeah, really good.
Go watch
really
that out.
Good,
it's like an hour long. It's really fascinating. So go watch that.
Yeah. But likewise with the next story we're going to talk about, Sam, he didn't always get on with the players alongside him. You know, famously him and Dwight York, off the pitch, didn't really get on. I think he had a couple of other spats as well. And we've actually had reports today about Rasmus Holand and Bruno, which surprised me quite a bit and taken me back. Apparently he was kind of arguing earlier in the season. Hoyland was annoyed that he's not being supplied enough from Bruno, which we can't really argue with, can we? Dallo, so he weren't being supplied by Dallo.
Dallo in Copenhagen
game.
And then Bruno took his side
as well.
I think Bruno took Dallo's side, didn't he? And that's why Bruno
something like that. Yeah, so there's a bit of a Portuguese, connection there going in at Hoyland. But that has been a reoccurring thing all season, hasn't it? Like, Hoyland, do you think it is he's just not being supplied enough, or do you think there's more to it than that?
No, absolutely. Like, we've seen it. Like, this story is true, and there is evidence to point to sort of support it. Like, we've seen Bruno not pass to him. We've seen Dallo not pass to him. We've seen Garnacho not pass to him, and we've joked on shows that Garnacho doesn't like him. Yeah, it's like, if these reports are true, maybe they don't. Maybe the forward three don't like him and don't like him as a person, or don't like the fact that he complains that he doesn't get the ball enough, which as a striker it's his right to fucking do, because he's there to score goals, and if he's not getting the ball then he can't score goals, which means he can't do his job. And then sometimes the forwards line and Bruno make the wrong decisions. We've seen it countless times. They'll cut in and try and shoot rather than laying the ball off for a tap in to Hoyland or picking out a player. Like, the amount of times Rashford just puts his head down and doesn't look up. Just look up and you'll see 3 or 4 players you can get the ball to. He'll just put his head down and run into players. Garnacho will do the same thing. Anthony will get the ball, delay, cut onto his left, and then try and ping it. And it's a recurring theme. And he had people were criticising him yesterday. There was a moment in the game where he got the ball and he couldn't quite get out of his feet, could he? And he was in the penalty area, and he just couldn't quite get his own feet and lost the ball. And people were like, oh, he needs to do better. He's like, that was the only chance he had all game. Yeah. He didn't have a single other opportunity in the entire game, and people are criticising because he had one chance. Do you know how many chances Harry Kane gets a game? 6, 7. Do you know how many Haaland gets? 6, 7, 8, and you know what I mean? Like, if he got 6 or 7 chances a game and he's missing all of them, fair enough. He needs to do better. But he's getting 1 chance a game and he's not putting in the back of the net. I think that's a bit harsh on him, man, because his amount of touches per game, his amount of shots per game is like 1 or 2 normally, because he's not getting the service. And I think if you start supplying him and start giving him the ball, you will see more goals. You saw it. He went on that little run, didn't he, where he was it was at 6 games in a row he scored. This kid knows how to score. He knows what he's doing. He's fucking good. Supply him. For the love of God, supply him, and you will get goals. But our forwards, we've spoke about it countless times, our forwards are so selfish and just play within themselves. They want the glory. They want to be the guy to do it. Garnacho is full of it. I get it from his perspective. He's 19. He's young. I understand it to a point. His idol's Cristiano. That's what he wants to be. Rashford and Bruno should know better. You're in your late 20s. You should know better. Play for the team. Don't play for yourself. Don't play for an individual. Play for your team. Who's the most likely person to score? The guy 6 yards away from goal. Give it to him. He'll put it in. And yeah, it's frustrating, man, because I like Holand a lot. He's one of my favourite players at the minute because I hate most of the rest of him. So yeah, it's frustrating, man, to watch. Really frustrating.
Well, we've got more and more people joining the chat. Please do smash a like on the video if you can, and subscribe if you're new to the channel, wherever it is you've kind of come in from, because I noticed a couple of new names in there. And let us know your thoughts on Hoyland as well. Dino saying it's like having a 6-gear sport car and not putting it in 6th gear with Rasmus. Camario says this is depressing, fellas, because it's so true. Lee Beckett says, how are you feeling after the way Coventry played against you yesterday? Well, we slightly touched on that at the start, but we're also dropping the preview in the morning as well, which we'll be discussing that a little bit more in depth. And also, I want to discuss Ahmad more in depth on that as well, in terms of the potential of him and Garnacho maybe being a bit more of a supplier for Rasmus. My personal assessment, I think he is a little bit clunky at times, which again can be...
He's raw. He's raw.
Yeah, he's raw. He's clunky, and he can definitely work on a lot of things on his game. I just find it bizarre how he went for a period where he didn't score any goals, but then was the top scorer in the Champions League. And then he went for a period where player in a month, basically, scoring every single fucking game, and then comes back and then no goals whatsoever. And that's so bizarre to me, and I don't know why. Well, I do know why. There's context to it, but strange to me that.
I think he's been injured a lot of the season, didn't he? 'Cause when he first came, he had the back injury, so he didn't play for the first 6 games of the season, or something like that. And then he came in. It took him a while to get going in the Champions League, absolutely flying. And then he had that other injury, and he's been out for a bit, and he's come back. So he's had a bit of a stop-start season. So I don't think it's been the best environment for him either. And he's the only striker. Exactly, that was my next point. He's the only striker we have. It's not like you can go, right, he's not having a good game, or he needs to rest, take him off, or put someone. We haven't got anybody, because the only other guy is Martial, and he might as well be made of fucking balsa wood, because the guy is just not fit. Like, never fit. So it's just like, I feel for him, man. I really do. I feel sorry for Rasmus Hoyland.
Well, there was a report apparently that Ten Hag ripped into the dressing room after the Coventry game, and reports about him, if he doesn't get Europe and all this kind of stuff, he's going to lose his job. But maybe that was something he was saying in the dressing room, kind of just, why are you not giving him the fucking ball? Going with Fergie when he said it about Van Persie, pass him the ball,
if you don't pass,
please.
You're not going to play. Yeah, if you don't pass, you won't play.
They're definitely not finding him, and that is amongst a list of so many other problems we have at the club.
But that's an issue Ten Hag has. He's not dropped players who are underperforming and clearly not following instructions. Like, they're not following instructions and they're underperforming. He's not dropping them. So why would they listen to him when he says pass to Hoyland? He's like, well, they're not going to drop me, so who gives a shit? Exactly. They just carry on. Well,
this is something that's being looked at under the magnifying glass of Jason Wilcox, because he started work today officially. The new technical director is conducting an audit of the manager's credentials and dressing room relations before the club makes a final decision on his future. Names being linked heavily today, Sam, in someone like a Thomas Tuchel. I don't know where it's all coming from, but it's just like everyone seems to be talking about it. CF Bayern, I think that's Christian Falk, tweeted saying United have now shown interest in Tuchel, who would be ready for a new challenge this summer, is very interested in managing Manchester United. I sort of already know your thoughts about him as a manager, my big question would be, and again, I don't know if you agree with this or if the chat agrees with it, is the way he deals with personalities at time, I seen that really kind of grinding at United.
He's prickly, isn't he? He's very, very prickly. He causes issues, and it's the reason why he's probably leaving. He's probably out of his job at Bayern because he's kicked off with certain people, and it's not happened with him. And then they went hand in cut back to Nagelsmann, and he basically told him to get fucked. It's like not going back to that because they got rid of him and realised they were wrong for getting rid
Rightfully
of him.
so. He should say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's signed a new contract with Germany, hasn't he? Because he don't want to go back. So Bayern are in a weird spot at the minute. They keep falling out with managers, and they keep doing the wrong things. And how many years? First 13th.
12, I think, something like that.
12 years, yeah. 12 years. Yeah. First time they've not won the title. And last year they almost didn't either. Last year they went to wait last day. So the Bayern are in a weird spot, man. It's a weird fucking place. I think Tuchel's a quality manager. Like, he wouldn't have got the jobs that he's had. PSG, Dortmund, Bayern, Chelsea. Like, he wouldn't have got those jobs if he's not any good. I just think, he's personality-wise, he's very similar to Jose. He kicks off and he demands like backing and support, and if he doesn't get it, you'll see him like what happens. So, yeah, I think he'd be good for 2-3 years, and then beyond that, I don't see him. I don't see him beyond that. And if we're talking about a rebuild and a potential like sort of system set up for the next 10-20 years to win titles, I don't think he's the guy. Just don't think he's the guy.
The thing is with me, when I've watched Tuchel, when he first came in at Chelsea, right, when he played against Wolves, I remember how he set them up, and they'd been leaking goals all season, and he was just like shored up straight away, was keeping clean sheet after clean sheet after clean sheet, that kind of German resilience that you see with a lot of managers. And I liked the way he set him up, even though it was like a back five, Rudiger's, Reece James, Chilwell. I think he set him up really, really well, and obviously won the Champions League with him as well. So I think he has that kind of that winning mentality. I think he has that knack to win games, but I don't know, I'm not fully convinced by him. And the past couple of jobs, you see the way he went out at Chelsea, see the way he's going out at Bayern Munich. It's very strange to me. And I think it would be more of a gamble with Tuchel than anything.
It's a short-term fix. It's not a long-term option. And I think there's a lot of exciting young European talent managers available this summer, or could be available. And I think you should go through that list first before you just go to the big name on the list, which is, I'd say, Thomas Tuchel, isn't it? Of available managers, he's the big name because Nagelsmann's now signed up with Germany. You're not going to get Klopp. And then Xavi's probably not an option either. So the big name available is Thomas Tuchel. So I think you got to look beyond that, and you got to start being smart with it, like Ruben Amorim, Roberto De Zerbi, those kind of names. You got to start looking at those. The younger Thiago Motta. You got to start looking at those names and building something for the future and giving a manager an opportunity. If you're not going to give it to Ten Hag, you need to give somebody an opportunity. And I don't think Thomas Tuchel is that guy. As good as he is, I just don't think he's that guy.
I've seen, I don't know if there's something in the air that someone knows, or like there's a lot of pundits, ex-football players. I saw Alan Shearer saying last night he thinks Ten Hag's already gone. And saying it quite confidently. Now, I'm not saying Alan Shearer's an insider source, but yeah.
Said it as well.
Yeah, Neville seems like, he said a couple of things that I like. That's interesting. But it seems like the writing's on the wall, whatever people believe or want to think. It seems like it is. So maybe it will be a case of we'll get to the end of the season. If he wins an FA Cup, he may still go. It may be a Van Gaal thing. I'm not entirely sure, but I suppose we'll know in... How many games we got left? The Premier League? 7? Is it?
6, 7.
6 or 7?
Yeah.
So we got 8 games in total, with including the FA Cup final, which is, when's that being played, by the way?
25th of May. Yeah.
25th of May. So yeah, we've quite literally got another month of football, and then we're done for the season, and then the Euros start mid-June. So exciting times, depending on your perspective of football. Right, we will leave it at that. we're going to go do the preview, which will be dropping in the morning or the afternoon. Not entirely sure yet, but we're going to go film that. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you check out the pros and cons that we dropped literally an hour before this video. A lot of little gems in there, and insightful knowledge, I would say. Not to kind of blow me on trumpet, but yeah. Anything else? Anything else I'm missing?
Apologies. It was supposed to be a special guest this week, but we've had to reschedule.
Oh, yeah.
It was out of our hands, but it will be happening just possibly next week. But yeah, it will be happening. Lee Beckett's asked, would you take Mark Robins as manager? Full disclosure, I am a Coventry fan. I mean,
do you know what? He's got a case after that performance yesterday, didn't he?
He fucking took it to us, so he's definitely got previous. So,
mate,
yeah.
we was all sat here yesterday after that game, and we were saying we're embarrassed to celebrate that. Every single one of us was like, it's embarrassing. We robbed them of a story, really. That would have been one of the biggest FA Cup stories ever, but sometimes football is cruel, I suppose. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. It is. We know the best as United fans, don't we? I suppose. We'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Please do subscribe, smash a like on the video. Check us out on socials. All the handles are at the top if you don't already follow us on them. And turn on that notification bell, because when we go live, it'll let you know, and you can either tap it or you can't, or you don't, and get on with your day or whatever. So yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy, people. Peace.
We